Okay, this always cracked me up. Replace the hammer and spring to increase fire rate. Oh yeah, let's just oil it up. That'll do it. Yeah, no, I don't want to be too picky because, like, I know this is very gamified, but it's still just funny. So this is like a weird Franken gun. Pretty sure it was a black rusty receiver, and all I see is clink, clink, and hey, now you got a whole new, really new firearm here at this point. What's up, everyone? This is Kommander Karl. Welcome to Expert Reacts. Today we're going to be looking at The Last of Us 2. All the weapons in The Last of Us 2 are fictional weapons. They don't actually exist, but they're highly based off of existing weapons. So we're going to look at them one by one. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on what I see. Hopefully we'll have a good time. Let's get started. First up, we have the semi-auto pistol. So this is obviously based off of a Beretta 92FS. This Nicotera Beretta knockoff thing would probably be a 9mm. Really nice detail overall still though, like you can see the spring on the magazine. This is obviously gonna have the capacity for a double stack, judging by how thick the handle is. Okay, this always cracked me up. Replace the hammer and spring to increase fire rate. So you can hear like a spring sound. I don't see the hammer removed. Like, okay, oh yeah, let's just oil it up. That'll do it, yeah. There, now you have a faster spring and hammer. Didn't even have to break the weapon down. No, I don't want to be too picky because, like, I know this is very gamified. They have to do the best they can, but it's still just funny. What's the point of taking a file to the grip but you're just putting scratches on it? Then yeah, it is. Looks to be maybe like a, yeah, it's rubber. So I don't get the whole, scraping. Okay, whatever. All right, so looks like we're doing recoil. Okay, we're adding a compensator. All right, so compensator goes at the end of the barrel. Effectively, it adds mass to the end of the barrel, which adds a little bit of weight. It also has typically specialized gas ports. When the gases leave the barrel, it will have gas ports that kind of point upwards, which will reduce recoil because when those exiting gases are shooting out from those ports, it's pushing down on the resulting recoil. You almost will always have to remove the slide to get a compensator installed on a Beretta. So I understand why the developers didn't do that. Again, this is a game. They want to make an animation that looks cool enough, looks and feels real enough, but isn't always going to be technically accurate. I would say functionally it looks most like a block, given that it looks to have pretty much the identical in terms of like the slide. So this is like a weird Franken gun. This is not based on anything that actually exists currently on one specific gun. Okay, so where's the mag release on this thing? I mean, I like the detail of like the extra round flying out, but you don't lose an actual round, which is just a funny detail. Like that's a waste of resources, especially in a post-apocalyptic world. So strange choice. All right, so let's replace the hammer spring to increase fire rate. Right? Does she actually take the slide off? No. Okay, yep, it's the same thing. Just pulls the slide back and rubs a little oil on the receiver. And there you go. There's your replaced spring. It just magically, it just materializes into the weapon. Next, we have stability, so we're gonna replace the grip. Again, you can't really see much here. And this grip, it's just another, it looks to be like a rubber. Yeah, it's just rubber that is actually inserted over the regular grip. So no screwdriver necessary. Okay, so now we're gonna attach a compensator to reduce weapon recoil. There you go. That's at least physically accurate from what I can tell. The ports exit from the side and the top for both stability and for recoil reduction. But again, this thing's a 9mm. It's not gonna have that much recoil to begin with. Okay, an extended magazine to hold more rounds. It just gives you +4 mag capacity. So this is all very modular. You can see that it's the same upgrades for each pistol. Adds the same amount of magazine capacity. Okay, there's your extended mag. Again, with the single stack mag, I do not understand how that would have added 4 rounds, but to each their own. I also do enjoy how she's using the slide to close instead of like the slide release. It's a fun detail. I have to give them credit. This is a very solid model. Although, again, I'm looking at this trigger and it's just like a notch. There's no, it doesn't look like it retracts into the triggers. The developers obviously looked at a picture of a Glock and were like, okay, there's a little notch hanging out there, so I'll add my own little notch here, and they probably didn't understand that this was a trigger safety mechanism. All right, revolver time. What do we got? I would say this is probably based on like a Smith & Wesson Model 686. It's a 357 would be the caliber if that's the case. It's really nice. I mean, the way it's being opened is accurate. The ejector rod being pushed to get the rounds out. All right, so the first upgrade is to replace the hammer spring to increase fire rate. So let me guess, a little off-camera action and some oil. There's not much to look at there, you know, in terms of actually replacing a hammer in a revolver. It's a far more complicated process than that, I can tell you that much. Next, we are going to be doing the stability. Okay, so replacing the revolver grip, which isn't really difficult to do on a revolver. It involves a screwdriver pulling off the grip, placing the new one, and screwing it back in, at least in most cases, especially for our Model 686. They're relatively easy to work with. I mean, I just see it go off camera quick, then suddenly already has the new handle on there. So I mean, again, it's a quick animation, not a lot of detail, but I see a nice new grip on there. I like how the cylinder spins a little bit as she sets it down. When the cylinder is open on a revolver, it does freely spin pretty easily. Those little cuts around the rear of the cylinder, those are the notches the cylinder stop where the bolt drops into. They index and lock the cylinder so that each chamber lines up with the barrel when you pull the trigger. Don't confuse them with the ratchet on the rear face or the ejector star rod, which is under the barrel. Those are different parts with different jobs. Next upgrade is reload speed. So using a speed loader to load all rounds in at once instead of individually. So, I mean, speed loaders, these aren't actually add-ons for the weapon body itself. They're just external devices. So it's just a little thing, holds all 6 rounds. I don't understand the point of taking the rounds out, to be honest. It's not like it's gonna fire. All right, so the last upgrade, damage. Replace the barrel to fire more powerful shots. Okay, so just longer barrel, great. That'll, I mean, it'll increase the range. I'm not 100% sure if it'll actually increase damage unless you count increased range as increased damage. It might give you more muzzle velocity in a longer distance. I can imagine that, but I'm gonna tell you this. Yes, you can replace a Model 686 L-frame revolver pistol with a longer barrel, but this is not just like a simple drop-in at-home job. You need a gunsmith for something like that. You need the correct replacement barrel, you need proper timing and head spacing, and likely some parts, like an ejector. You'll need a different length ejector rod, you'll need sights to be fitted. Like, that's a really complicated process. Again, this is a game. There's no point in being too nitpicky about it. Next, we're on the hunting pistol. Let's take a look. Okay, cool. So this is effectively it looks to be maybe based on like a kind of a tactical Thompson Center contender. This is a break action, single shot breech loading pistol. It's basically the handgun version of a break open hunting rifle. Design wise, these are pretty popular for hunting because you can run big handgun calibers like 357, 44 caliber, 45, so on. So she breaks the breech by pulling the hammer back? No, I can tell you that's not how that would work. There would be a specific lever for that kind of action, so I would already kind of dock them on that one. But it's a really nice model, of course. The materials are really solid. Stability, replace the pistol grip to decrease weapon sway. Okay, cool. I can actually like see the screwdriver and she's actually taking it off. Okay, see, this is cool. I feel like this is a much more detailed animation here. I'm not sure where the screw went, but who cares? So this was already a better upgrade animation than anything else I've seen so far. All right, we're attaching a scope to aim at targets with greater accuracy by pressing X. Cool. Okay, so this is the 4X scope upgrade. I don't really see anything happening. I mean, you could see some screwdriver action, which is kind of nice. Alright, damage. Replacing the barrel. So I'm guessing this is going to be a longer barrel. Okay. What? Oh yeah, I gotta brush out the barrel. That's nice that they added that. Effectively the same barrel, except it's chrome plated. It probably has a chrome bore, which would be... Chrome bores are really high end because they don't corrode as easily. You know, like these expanding gases and burnt powder are exiting the barrel. They tend to leave a lot of gunk behind, and that can eventually cause pitting, which is where like it causes literal cavities inside the barrel. It degrades the rifling. When the rifling is degraded, you have substantially reduced accuracy. It's a good way to take care of your barrel. And the crossbow, which again, I don't know a lot about bows. Although, you know, the crossbow has an actual firing mechanism, so there's a little bit of crossover there in terms of, you know, as far as firearms and weapons go. Really, really cool model. Okay, so it's stability upgrade. Now a 4x scope to aim at distant targets. The wrench animation is really cool. I like it. And you can tell, like, I mean, it's probably mocap, so they use motion capture actors to act these things out. That way you get super realistic movements, counter movements, etc. Mid-range shotgun with high damage and slow reload speed. Now, this wouldn't have, I would say, a super slow reload speed. You can reload these things pretty damn quick. It's really nice textures. Look at that. All right. No. All right, when you break the action open, you don't have to do this to get them to fall out. They come out. Add weight to the stock to decrease weapon sway, which takes away recoil and adds stability. That is technically accurate. When you're adding weight to a weapon, you are effectively reducing the amount of recoil that is going to affect you when you're firing the weapon. And generally, a heavier weapon, especially in the rear, might be a little bit easier to shoulder and keep stable. However, a heavier weapon is also more difficult to keep shouldered for longer periods of time. This would decrease weight. This is like a polymer stock. So that's not going to add weight. This is what I appreciate, is that you still can feel what's happening, judging by the way the weapon moves and the way she just kind of obviously is sliding something onto the stock. So animation team did well there. The shells look really nice. Damage is the next upgrade here. Replace the barrel to fire more powerful shots. Okay, well, it's not going to technically fire more powerful shots. You're just replacing a barrel. Maybe you're making it longer for better range, but it's not going to change the actual rounds themselves. So on the end, it's shinier, so I'm assuming it's like a stainless steel finish here. Nice model, though. The whole damn thing's different. The receiver is different, too. I'm pretty sure it was a black, rusty receiver, and all I see is clink, clink, and hey, now you got a whole new, really new firearm here at this point. And, you know, obviously adding holes like that aren't going to increase damage. It's just going to decrease the amount of recoil you might experience from an upward motion. Oh, look at that. Okay, this is a Saiga, basically. It's effectively an AK platform. Mechanically, this is a Kalashnikov design. This looks more like the shotgun variant. See, they made Saigas, which are like AK shotguns, basically, in 12 gauge. That's what this looks like, but this is, they're calling this the semi-auto rifle. So look at the big giveaway is the barrel width. If you look at the barrel here, it's very, very thick, which would, the assumption would be that this is a 12 gauge, but this is not. This is a rifle. Adding weight to the stock to decrease weapon sway, which I'm guessing is just replacing a wood stock with a polymer one, which again, that's not going to decrease weapon sway. Also, big thing here that I forgot to mention, this wouldn't have a bolt locking system. The Dragunov SVD, which is kind of like a larger caliber sniper, long rifle version of an AK, right? It's a very similar design. When you pull the bolt back, it has a locking mechanism that keeps the bolt back. AKs do not have that. You pull that bolt back and let it go, it's always going to go forward. Okay, adding scope. Mount for scope on an AK goes on the side and then it curves over the top of the receiver. I can tell they definitely got that right. Modify the trigger to allow for a 3-round burst. I don't think I have to tell you that would be a very complicated process that's going to involve more than just moving the gun off frame and rubbing it with some oil. You're talking about replacing like the entire trigger assembly and the hammer and the sear, a lot of internal parts to actually get something like that working. This selector switch here has single and 3-round burst, but they removed the original lever, fire selector lever. It pushes all the way to the bottom of the receiver, prevents the bolt from coming back very far, and it also blocks the trigger from being able to release the sear and and the hammer as a result. So that's aesthetically pleasing, sure, but not super realistic, I guess. This is based on, I would say, a Remington Model 700 BDL. Very, very popular hunting rifle. Extremely reliable, bolt action, very accurate. This is why bolt actions have been around for such a long time, because they are such a simple, elegant design. Adding weight to the stock when all they're doing is just replacing it with, like, I don't even think they did anything. It's just shinier now. It looks to have been replaced with like a faux wood polymer stock. Does not add weight or really stability. If anything, that's going to reduce weight. Capacity, add a magazine to increase reload speed to hold more rounds. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this much, all right? Remington 700, not a magazine-fed weapon. They have an internal magazine. So you have to do some pretty serious modifications to get that to take a box magazine. But I'll be curious to see how they do it anyway. Okay, that's not how it works. Basically, the assumption here, that magazine was able to go in, which the assumption is that there would actually already be a magazine well, but it's a top-loaded weapon, so if you're putting rounds into loaded internal magazine, they're just going to fall through the bottom. Not realistic at all in any way, shape, or form. And I don't even think I see an actual well for this magazine to fit in. It's just a flat-faced model, and they just shove it through. Whatever, you know, it's fine. Okay, what did she just? Okay, she's putting on a scope for more long-range capabilities. You need a screwdriver for that. That's not what you do. But hey, whatever. Damage, replace the barrel. Okay, probably giving it like a stainless steel barrel with compensator, recoil compensation. It's got a muzzle brake at the end, so that will absolutely reduce recoil. However, in some cases, from what I remember, muzzle brakes can have an effect on accuracy at long-range distance, so not really going to affect the damage output of a weapon. It's a nice looking model. There's a few little nitpicky things I would have done differently maybe, but overall, I would say The Last of Us 2 with like their weapons, it's a next-gen title. You can tell it has next-gen quality, but if you're looking for realism in terms of like weapon upgrades, I mean, it's just for show, really. A lot of the upgrades for these weapons are just like cosmetic differences, but it's a game. It's supposed to be fun, solid game, really fun gameplay. Thank you so much again for joining me. This has been a really fun thing for me to do. I'm really happy Gamology brought me on. I'm grateful you guys are here. Thank you for watching. I'm Kommander Karl, and I hope I see you guys again. Kommander out.